What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Funko Fusion, give you guys my early impressions on the game. Not all the way through it, so I didn't want to do like a full-on review, didn't feel comfortable with that, but I feel like I'm able to tell you guys how I feel and, throw something out at you and see if you like the game, see if you don't like the game. First things first, I want to thank the developers for giving me a review code. I actually got a review code for this game the day the game came out, so again, I was able to put in a little bit of time, not a ton of time, and the game is okay. I would say okay, kind of at best. I kind of, and we've talked about this like leading in. The game to me gave off signs that it was either going to be surprisingly good or bad. Now, I don't think I would say this game is like outright bad. I think you can find some good in this game, and I also think it's kind of your mindset, kind of your expectations, also kind of like who's playing it, right? Like this, it does give off more of a kids vibe type game, right? And it's like, no, at the same time, kids deserve to play good games. When I was a kid, I was playing Crash and Sly and Spyro. We were playing elite games growing up. So just by saying, oh, it's a kid's game, it doesn't have to be very good. Why do we have to dumb down the standards for children getting into gaming? If this is one of their first games, they should be able to play a SpongeBob, a Battle for Bikini Bottom type thing. So I do just want to kind of make that clear because I don't know if I like it when people kind of say those things. But you do have to keep in mind, I guess, who's playing it and can you get more enjoyment if you're a different demographic. And I think the answer is yes. And I also think the game does some okay stuff. And I want to start with the positives and we'll work to the negatives. The positives is actually the look. I would say a couple different things. Number one, in terms of like the Funko vibe, they nailed it. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I don't know if I would say collect. I mean, I have, I think, like 200 plus Funkos, but I don't like buy every single one. Like I don't know. I started doing it like 10 plus years ago. I guess it's a collection. And, it's cool to see. Granted, not like any of the ones that I have, and I'm looking up because they're displayed, above me. I don't think any of the ones that I have actually make their way into the game. But to see like Scott Pilgrim like jump into there, or Jurassic World, Five Nights, Megan, all these type of things, it is cool. And I think the visual presentation also looks good. Like the game actually looks very, very nice. Whether it is just the gameplay, whether it is the cutscenes in this game is actually really nice. And I guess to kind of, again, maybe stick with a little bit more of the positive, it tries to be a Lego game. Like, that is the best way to describe it, is it's a little bit more of like an action-y Lego type game. So you pick the different worlds, right? And each world is associated with a group of Funko Pops. And so I went through the entirety of Jurassic World, and then I started Scott Pilgrim. That's where I'm at right now. Not necessarily in order. I just kind of picked the ones that stood out, in the moment. And aesthetically, like them trying to, because they do kind of copy the movies a little bit with the cutscenes. Not all the time and not all the way, but an okay amount. And I think they do a phenomenal job. I think it looks really, really cool. And imagine like the Lego cutscenes, if they're doing, say, Star Wars, right? Imagine that with Funko Pops and then multiple franchises instead of just one that like a Lego game would do. That is, in my opinion, that's probably the game's biggest strength because it does transport you to these worlds. And it actually looks quite good and feels quite good. Like Scott Pilgrim, it feels like you're in the Scott Pilgrim like movie. Same thing with Jurassic World. Like it feels like you're there. So I really appreciate that, and I would say that's actually much better than I thought. And I saw the review scores. Like I know not a lot of people gave it review scores, but it's sitting at like that 4 to 6 kind of range. I imagine this is where it gets a lot of its strength. I would say like the gameplay is functionally solid. Like there's shooting, there's hitting kind of hand to hand. Everybody kind of has their own weapon, whether it's a guitar, whether it's like a stun baton type thing. Everybody's got like a hand to hand thing, and everybody's got basically a long ranged weapon. And there's dodging, there's running, there's collectibles. So in terms of the Lego kind of thing, you go throughout the level, you complete a series of objectives. It's actually not many per level, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit more negative because they're very repetitive and they're not very strong in terms of them. But there is room to go off the beaten path, and you're collecting currency. There's things around the environment of kind of almost time trial like things, and as you go, you have the opportunity to find different collectibles in any given map, and some of them could actually lead to basically exclusive Funko Pops. So like John Hammond for Jurassic World is somebody that's locked behind. You're gonna have to find quite a bit of stuff in those Jurassic World levels, and then you'll be able to unlock him. So I would say though that unlocking them, like what they're able to do isn't very unique. Like, you think of Star Wars. I think like Lego Star Wars is something that I grew up on, right? You have the aesthetic, you have the look, right? Like when you unlock a Darth Maul or like a General Grievous, or say the originals, whatever it might be. You get them and like they look so cool, but they also are those characters. Now they can't be too different, right? Like Legos can only be so different from each other. In the same way that Funkos are, they're kind of the same in terms of how they control, but then in terms of obviously how they look, they're a little bit different. So, that's all fine. Like I actually think that's a fine part of the game, and there is some challenges in the maps that, you have to think about. And to 100% this game like would actually be an okay challenge. You are not going to be able to like cakewalk. It's not a cakewalk to go through this thing. But in terms of the negatives, it's kind of anything else. Like it's just, it doesn't push anything, right? It feels like even though you've never played a Funko game before, it kind of feels like you have, because it feels like a worse Lego game. I've been comparing it to Lego, but in reality, their objectives are just not very good. The combat, it works. Like, nothing breaks. I did actually jump into a hole and got stuck there, and I could not get out of it. And I don't even know how I got into it in the first place, and that's the only time I had to restart. And if you restart, you have to restart the whole level. I don't think there's, like, checkpoint systems in the level. So if you're 75% done through a level and if something goes wrong, you have to replay the whole thing. That's what I actually had to do with the first stage, the very first stage. So that wasn't ideal, but it's just fine. Like, you go around, you do your objectives. They're not very detailed. They're repetitive. The bosses are different, but they also, in terms of how they act, are the exact same. Like, you're going to be doing the exact same thing every time. Like gathering things and depositing them, things like that. It just repeats over and over and over. And again, like the combat, it exists. Like the shooting is fine, but like it's just not that fun to fight anything. It's also just not that fun to actually play it. I feel like the times that I was enjoying this game the most is honestly the opening of every level. Like when you get to see the translation between movie cutscene or whatever story, and sometimes again like they deviate from the movies and stuff, where that deviation is, and then like substituting Funkos in instead of like the movie. Like there is a little bit of value there, and replayability I guess is also there, is to kind of collect everything. But again, I don't think it's a terrible game. This also I guess isn't technically a review. In terms of my early impressions, like it's fine. It's fine. Now, I got it for free. This is where, like, I would feel pretty good about that, right? And in terms of, okay, well, do I recommend a recommendation? Should you get it? Should you not? Again, I really think it's just like, where are you, in your life? Like, what kind of game are you looking for? What demographic? Because for me, playing it as a game that I just got, right, as a review, like, I think it's fine. I think it's, it's whatever. I'll go back to it. I'll finish it, whatever, and there's no rush. Like, it's not urgent, for me to get through the whole thing. It is what it is. But it's also a packed fall season. It's also many other games. But also, again, it's like, well, who are you? Like, when I was playing this, maybe I should have done it. My daughter was interested in, like, the Funko idea, and she watched, like, a little bit, but never got to the point of her actually trying it. She's 10, so it's like, could she get into it? Maybe. But you know what? Again, it goes back to that beginning. I mean, it's up to every individual, right? Like what you do. But for me, it's like, man, I think for her specifically, I think like the Lego games are much better. Again, like I grew up on, my very first game was like Crash Bash, right? So it's like growing up with Crash and Spyro and Digimon and things like that. It's like, I don't know, like those games are very good. Maybe not all of them, but at least some of them are very good. And I don't know, like if a kid plays Funko Fusion, is that a better time than them playing a SpongeBob or, something else? I actually don't think it is, but I don't think the game is like outright terrible. I think it's just the biggest flaw is just repetition. It's nothing special, and then it just repeats too often. Now, is it worth the money for being subpar and then being in a busy season? It's a very busy season, right? I don't know. Like for me, I wouldn't have gotten it if it wasn't for this. That's my own, experience, and that's what I'm rolling with. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure as always you subscribe to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.